following program is rated 14+ and is intended for adult audiences. It contains mature subject matter, coarse language, and content that some viewers may find disturbing. Viewer discretion is strongly advised.
Before we officially start, it's really, our main goal is just for you to be comfortable. We're going to go back to a dark place you may not have been to for a long, long time.
The first time he removed his cloak, took down his pants, and took my hand, put my hand on his, his penis.
I thought that I was this red-headed kid that used a scented shampoo and enticed this priest. He preyed upon me. He targeted me, he set me up, he groomed me.
I often compare these perpetrators to vampires. They're feeding somewhere, they're getting their victim pool from somewhere.
I was just prey. He was a predator.
He denied it then, he's denying it now.
They keep a record of everything. Those are all on file. That's what they're protecting. We have only scratched the surface.
I call it the cooperation with evil.
They know the truth, so shame on them.
The major cost to this has been the cost in trust.
When I found out he was at St. Mike's, I put a 12 gauge in my trunk.
Trust in priests and in the institution church has been shattered.
I had it planned out, premeditated in my mind. We're gonna be even. I'm gonna settle the score.
We need to change, or we will disappear.
I didn't go looking for this story. It found me, and now you. November 2018, as a journalist, I uncovered an incident at a well-known all-boys private Catholic school in Toronto. Students from St. Michael's College School, some of them are holding a broomstick and they're penetrating the young student with that broomstick. I thought I knew the story that I was stepping into, but then I heard the whispers of secrets kept silent by one of the most historic orders of Catholic priests in Canada, and the human toll of their denial. You look at this photo, what do you see?
I just see a kid. Innocence. I'm not prepared for what was coming. Not at all. Not at all.
My name is Peter Lucci, and I was sexually assaulted by Father Leo Campbell in grade 9.
Growing up, I was just like any other kid, just getting into trouble, having fun, playing. I was a happy kid. And then I was a trusting kid. I trusted everybody and thought everybody was good.
Especially your priest.
Yeah, I was brought up in a Roman Catholic family and very important to my parents. Would sit in as a father figure that were very important in your life. Growing up was, I'd say, upper middle class. We'd go on vacations a lot. Everything was fine up until my father left. He went to Italy. And my mother and sister remained here, and my brothers and I were moved to Sault Ste. Marie. I moved in with my grandmother and my uncle. It was fragmented, our whole family. My father was in Italy, my mother was in Toronto, we were in the Sioux. It was a tough time, especially for a kid, right? That's where Father Campbell comes in. He was a funny guy, he was engaging. So yeah, I guess I was drawn to him.
I want to show you a picture, just so we're crystal clear. Is this Father Leo Campbell?
That's Father Leo Campbell. That's him.
You wince when you look at the photo.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's really difficult for me. It's probably difficult for people who haven't been victims, but initially, the attention he gave me, because I had no parents, I didn't mind, until this started to escalate. He's a monster, he's a predator. And he's wearing that cloth of God.
Nervous?
Very nervous. Very nervous. It's an emotional journey. Yeah, I never thought I would see myself going to Rome. My name is Brenda Brunel. When I was 13 years of age, Father Michael Falona of the Basilian Order sexually abused me. I would say he took my life. I would say he murdered my soul. It's time to hold them accountable. It's time to clear out the records. It's time that we protect our vulnerable children. My call to action is really simple. Create a list of all credibly accused Roman Catholic priests, which includes the Basilians. I'm excited to meet up with our group in Rome. I'm hoping that we're given the opportunity to speak with the Pope, possibly even a Canadian cardinal. I hope that we are able to send a beacon of hope to all survivors across the world.
The Basilian Fathers are part of the Roman Catholic Church. Their world headquarters is in Toronto. They run schools and universities across the Americas, including one of the most famous in Canada, St. Michael's College School. Their motto comes from the Book of Psalms: "Teach me goodness, discipline, and knowledge."
The irony and hypocrisy of a lot of these Basilian schools is that they carried a reputation in the community of integrity, of morality, all the while they were being staffed with known sex offenders. I mean, it's just shocking that this would have went on. There are very few Basilian institutions, if any, where these perpetrators did not act as teachers, staff, or administrators.
How many cases, roughly, would you say you've brought against the Basilians?
I mean, safe to say dozens.
While they've paid out multiple lawsuits, the Basilian Fathers still own some of the most lucrative real estate in Canada, where multi-million-dollar condo developments are underway.
The Basilians are absolutely big business. I mean, they're big business that doesn't pay taxes. They're big business that's multinational. They have a lot of money, maybe more money than you would expect.
When you hear of sexual abuse in priests, I think most people, your mind would automatically go to an altar boy. You wouldn't think of a little girl.
You can see St. Peter's Square behind us, this monument to the Catholic faith.
It's beautiful, and the reverence and just the total awe. And yet I'm trampled down with the horror and the sadness. It is the complete opposite of what is exemplified here.
Church leaders from across the world are at the Vatican.
The Pope has summoned more than 100 bishops to address the global child sex abuse crisis.
We hear the cry of the little ones who ask for justice.
1 year ago, it was described as a landmark summit. Have you seen the action that you would hope to have seen?
We certainly have not back home. It's not enough to just remove them from active ministry without putting them on a list.
In the United States, the Catholic Church has released 176 lists of clergy credibly accused of abusing children. In Canada, that number is 0.
This isn't the odd bad apple. For the Basilians, a religious order that focuses on the education of Catholic youth, it's an institutional problem because they had guaranteed large-scale exposure to many students. They have to expose their sins and put a list of them out there.
You reached out to the Cardinal's office?
Yes. What I did is I prepared this email. I am a Canadian leader for the SNAP organization, Survivors Network for Those Abused by Priests. I have confirmation that my email was received, but I have not received a response. It's insulting that either this cardinal denies that this problem exists in Canada, or it's simply just not a priority.
The Pope, what have you asked of him?
To speak to him about the crisis in Canada. I'm here, my group is here, give us your time.
Do you remember roughly the first time you met Father Leo Campbell?
I went early one day and I was just wandering in the gym. He came in. Even at that early hour, you could smell wine on him. There was nobody else around, not a janitor, nobody. And he came to sit next to me, giving me a hug. Don't worry, your parents will be back soon, your father will be back soon, using my family being away as a way to comfort me.
You feel that you were hunted?
Yes, he was completely aware of my situation. I didn't have any friends. It was a new school. My father wasn't there. He targeted me from the beginning. It was in increments, escalating, taking longer, pulling me closer, putting me on his lap. It was all, looking back, planned. I don't even remember him undoing his pants or his penis was out and he did what he put me down on his lap. It's so hard to talk about this stuff, but
my name is Robert Mickens. I worked in the Vatican for more than 10 years. I traveled the world with Pope John Paul II.
One thing that always surprises me is that people don't understand these are not the monsters, on the surface that we might think they are. No, these are the Pied Pipers that are the best friends of these kids and their families, and they're the cool priests, and they very slowly groom these kids. They're seductive, they gain their trust. But it's still happening. It's still happening. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. This is not all stuff from the past. Abuse is continuing. We know that because cases keep getting reported. There are also cases of cover-up. I mean, that's almost as bad as the abuse itself. I'm convinced that these religious orders and bishops are afraid to talk because I think their lawyers are telling them not to talk. Probably the most credible voice for the institution, the Catholic institution today, is a man named Hans Zollner, a Jesuit priest. He has Pope Francis's ear.
When I go with this attire through the streets of Melbourne or Dublin, I'm spit on and I'm insulted because I'm a representative of an institution that many people see as protecting child molesters and so forth. The major cost to this has been the cost in trust. And how can you regain trust?
How many times did Father Leo Campbell sexually assault and rape you?
Probably 24 and above, so 24 to 30, around there. This happened over a year and a half, 2 years. And when I think about it, smells come back to me and textures. I mean, he taught me to, how to give him a blowjob. I mean, he taught me. I didn't know anything about this. I was a child. He would talk me through it. Peter, you know what? Feels good if you do this. He ejaculated in my mouth. He ejaculated outside my mouth. He'd have a towel or he'd clean it up afterwards. And it progressed. And at the time, I thought this was somebody caring about me. It was something intimate in a strange way.
Does a young Peter Lucci understand what's taken place here?
I knew it was something, it wasn't right, but when it happens as a child, those are the formative years, and you're thrown into chaos. What he did was predatory behavior. It was a thing I can't believe that nobody saw anything. Somebody must have known that this was going on. And yet it just continued and continued until it escalated to the point where he was, raping me. I wanted to end him. I just wanted to end him.
Em nome do Pai, e do Filho, e do Espírito Santo. Amém.
Where are you off to this morning?
I'm off to the office of the Holy See, to the Charge d'Affaires, to see Madame Savard. She's expecting us. I've never had any contact with the embassy before today. The fact that they've accepted my request to sit down and meet with me, I have to trust that they want to.
Will you tell the ambassador the story you told us?
Yes. I thought that I was this red-headed kid that used a scented shampoo and enticed this priest. I thought I invited that. For years, I believed that. In 2008, I contacted the Diocese of London because what I wanted to do was meet with him and tell him, listen, I'm really sorry. Well, I received a call later that summer with great regret that Filona does not know who I am. He does not know my family. He never assaulted anybody, certainly not me, and he refuses to meet with me. I just was like dead air on the phone.
His denial of knowing you is discredited by one major smoking gun.
That's right. Father Filona, for years, has kept a daily journal. So we didn't get possession of this until the fall of 2010. I filed my suit in 2008. So if I can just read one excerpt here that was dated on April 29. So this is his handwriting. Early this afternoon, fixed church up, Brenda Hartman. That's me. And my visit there was important enough for him to journal.
The Basilian's lawyer refused to let us speak with Father Filona. A signed letter sent to us claims he never assaulted Brenda or anyone else. In 2012, the Basilians and Brenda reached a confidential cash settlement with no admission of guilt.
He denied it then, he's denying it now. But the author of that letter, the lawyers that represented the church, the lawyers that represented him, were all present for his discovery in the room that I also sat in with my own attorney. They know the truth. They know the truth.
So if he's right, then what is Brenda? Is Brenda a lifelong liar, working this complex fraud, motivated by God knows what? How is it possible that there would be Brenda if he is right?
We had a good conversation. She's going to write a report to Ottawa to say, I want each bishop, each diocese to start reporting these names. It's important. It's critical.
What was it like as a young boy, walking the halls, going to class, and having this hanging over you?
It was a house of horrors. It was a school of horrors. I had to go back there after this guy was raping me. It was just overwhelming for me. I thought it was my fault. I thought I brought this upon myself. Why me? You know, I couldn't understand any of it.
This is Father Leo Campbell's message as the principal in Sault Ste. Marie. And he says, I hope that this yearbook will bring back many memories and that St. Mary's College will always be home to you. Sincerely, Leo Campbell.
Devious bastard. Yeah, they've just never taken responsibility. Can't even look at him, you know? Sorry about that.
Peter, before you met Leo Campbell, there was an incident involving a whistleblower at Columbus Boys Camp.
The Columbus Boys Camp was a place for underprivileged youth to get out of the city of Toronto and enjoy nature in the summer. A good, wholesome summer with mentorship from a real Catholic priest.
So I was 17, I grew up in Windsor, and so it was my first real experience being away for the whole summer. And it was great. It was a lot of fun. We took them canoeing, there was archery and field stuff and camp crafts. I think there were 4 or 5 or 6 Brazilian priests there. Father Campbell was one of them. He had an unusual fondness for the kids. They're climbing on him, and he had a strange look about him that sort of gave one pause. And, there was the way boys talk, there was talk of being careful around him. So one day, 3 or 4 of these young boys, like maybe 6, 7, 8, came to us to tell us that Father Leo was coming into the cabin at night and putting his hand in their sleeping bags and fondling them, their genitals. He was sexually molesting them, these young boys. So of course, really upset, so we immediately approached one of the young cool priests, Father John Mallow, and told him what was going on. Father Mallow's response wasn't a surprise. It didn't take convincing, he wasn't skeptical. And Father Leo was gone the next day. At 17, I did what I thought was right. But nobody interviewed me afterwards, or I've never spoke to anybody other than Father John about it at the time. Looking back, that's a disappointment too, that there wasn't an investigation. I wasn't asked for a statement. The things that we would expect.
Many years later, you met again with Father John Mallow.
He said that he regretted he didn't contact the police then too. Well, he should have been arrested and put in jail, but also a betrayal by the priest to be aware and to relocate him and to expose him to other young children. It's unforgivable.
The fact that there was a report by Bill to a Basilian priest and Father Leo Campbell was gone the very next day shows that the silent shuffle kicked in. The silent shuffle is like if you took a joker, an identified perpetrator, out of a deck of cards. Now, what the church does is it shuffles them back into the deck, but they continue to come to the surface as they deal with children. And he'll continue to do damage and be part of that deck.
There's times when we know that there were convicted and alleged Basilian priests working within the same schools. Do you think that they talked about the children that they abused together?
I don't just think they talked about it, I know they did. I have one case where after one of the priests started abusing the victim, another priest's behavior with him changed dramatically and he started abusing him as well.
Following the allegations at Columbus Boys Camp, Father Campbell went on to teach at Basilian institutions across Canada before arriving in Sault Ste. Marie, where he would meet Peter Lucci. Father John Mallow would also join Campbell there as a teacher. Campbell and Mallow worked under Basilian Father William Hod Marshall, who would later be convicted of sexually assaulting 19 children. Father Mallow acknowledged our request to speak with him for this film, but the next email from the Basilian's lawyer contained a clear message.
Peter would have absolutely been saved. A lot of the cases I work on are avoidable. These are stories that didn't have to be told. This is litigation that didn't have to happen. If only the church had removed these priests upon first learning of their propensity to abuse.
We can't explain that today. We simply don't understand it. Why people would not look to the suffering first of those who have been wounded. I call it the cooperation with evil, and it is affecting the institution, it is affecting the trust, it is affecting the faith.
The boys' camp wasn't the only time Campbell could have been stopped. These files from the spring of 1980 were supposed to be destroyed. They reveal the first time Campbell was sent to a Catholic treatment center called Southdown following an accusation of child abuse. The file notes that Father Campbell's anxiety was eased when he heard other stories of priests with pedophilic tendencies. Campbell's doctor recommends he stay at Southdown for 3 months. He's there for just 10 days. That fall, he arrives in Sault Ste. Marie, where he meets Peter Lucci.
How do they let someone who's accused and who they've flagged as someone who needs treatment, how do they let him go?
Yeah, this is again something you don't understand today. Over the last 10, 15 years, the position in psychiatry has changed drastically. Before that, many psychiatrists would assume that they can heal pedophiles.
I call these centers laundromats. They're where you send someone to have some semblance of treatment, some semblance that the institution did something. These are funded by the Catholic Church. Most of the staff are Catholic. So you have to ask yourself at the end of the day, are they doing what's best for society, or are they doing what's best for the church?
Campbell's secret file contains at least 5 other allegations of assault and even admissions by the priest himself, all while he was allowed to teach and minister across the country. It also includes a reference to a weekend away spent with Peter Lucci. Can you tell us a little bit about the camping trip? Can you tell us a bit about the camping trip?
It was a 3 or 4 day trip with 4 boys and him in the woods. No adult supervision, no nothing, just him and 4 boys. No. It was me and him in a tent. There was another boy, but he was a little bit further to the side. He would come lie next to me on his side. You know, we're spooning. And, you know, I couldn't see him from where I was facing that way. He took out his penis, he pulled my pants down and put his penis, you know, near my anus and pushed to get in. And he almost verged on violence, him trying to force himself inside me when it wasn't going. It was painful. You know, he's a grown man, I'm a kid. Pushed until finally something went in. And I don't know how long it lasted. You know, he came and pulled out. I mean, I remember my underwear being all wet and sticky or hard in the morning. And that was that night. Didn't last for very long, but it was traumatic. That was probably the second time that he did that. The second time.
There's going to be people who ask, why didn't you call police when this was happening to you when you were a teenager?
It's difficult to explain, but you have to be in that situation. I tried to come forward in my way. I was in such discomfort that I had to say, let me go to the doctor. I need help. I was actually bleeding. And they just sent me home. It's just so devastating. It's the people that are supposed to protect you.
I'm really excited to meet Sean Doherty here in Rome. He's the kind of guy that gets things done and has a strong track record of being a powerful advocate for survivors really around the world.
They want to break your will. They didn't bend you. They didn't break you. They're not going to bend you. They're not going to break you. They bend this time. They break this time. There is no goddamn way I'm doing it. No way. My name is Sean Doherty. I'm 50 years old. I'm from Johnstown, Pennsylvania. I was sexually assaulted by my priest, who was also my basketball coach, beginning when I was 10 years old in the 5th grade. I was invited here to Rome last year to the Vatican Summit. When we showed up for the meeting, there was probably 200 press. It was unbelievable. I met with Father Hans Zollner. In any high-level meeting that I could get, there's one rung of the ladder left that I haven't met with, and that's the Pope. I'm here to meet with the Pope.
What happened when you came forward with your story?
I've been contacted by well in excess of 1,000 guys in my hometown. I was reached out by victims from around the world. All races, religions, creeds, ages, sexual orientation, all tell me a very, very similar story of abuse. There's an office here in Rome that supposedly has our records. I'd like to see mine.
Are you hopeful you'll get in?
I deserve to get in. The Catholic Church are excellent record keepers. They keep a record of everything. Those are all on file. That's what they're protecting.
The Catholic Church, it's always been, from the early centuries, paranoid about being attacked from enemies of the church. An obsession with scandal and with persecution, this kind of persecution complex. And so victims were sacrificed for the institution.
How long did you live in silence for?
More than 30 years.
Did you ever think you'd see that man face to face again?
No, never. I went to a friend's wedding, and he was actually one of the friends who was on the camping trip with me. Father Campbell was there marrying them. And I seen him surrounded by 3 or 4 boys. And he's playing with, 3 or 4 little boys. So I was just like, I wasn't shocked. I did go up to him and I said, "Do you remember me?" And it was like in one of those movies. He was taken aback, literally, stepped back 3 steps and started to tremble, actually. He knew it, and he was just cowering. That's, definitely triggered me to tell my wife, and it was hard. I guess she saw the conflict and the suffering I was going through, and I told her.
Do you think your marriage deteriorated because of what you went through?
I know it did. It destroyed all my life, all aspects, our sex life, everything. If you could imagine, she wanted to be intimate at times, and I couldn't. And it wasn't because I didn't love her or because I wasn't attracted to her. It was because I was in turmoil within myself. That bastard, he robbed me. He robbed me of having kids. He robbed me of my marriage. He robbed me of so many things. For what? For his sexual gratification? Are you kidding me?
How many times would you say you tried to commit suicide?
Probably 10. I'd taken 20 or 30 Ativans, or 20 or 25 Valiums. I lost everything. I lost myself. The hate just boiled over. I couldn't control myself, and I acted. We're gonna be even. I'm gonna settle the score.
I'm beginning to lose hope that we're going to get in to see the Pope, and I'm just so damn angry, and I'm so frustrated.
What we have to do is keep hope, stay the course, keep doing what we're doing. There is no taking me off of this mission any longer. Inside the building right here, this is a congregation for the doctrine of the faithful. Our records are in there, and we're going to go ask for them. Last year when I was here for the Vatican Summit, if you remember Pope Francis, he said that we were nieces and nephews of Satan.
Yes, he did.
He called us nieces and nephews of Satan in public. I'd like to see what they call us in private. He's on the phone right now. We need to talk to him, but we're trying to receive documents about our records. Are we allowed to try?
The congregation of the Fede?
Right.
Qual è il codice postale qui?
But we can't just go in.
There is not a place who can answer. It's not police station.
It's not possible.
So is there a contact name? When we asked if we could get into the building, that's the captain of the Italian police told us it doesn't work that way. You need to go to the post office. I'm trying to get a letter.
No video. Sorry.
No video.
We're here. It's daytime, working hours. Somebody's on the other side of that door. Well, that's the problem. I wasn't given a name. Here we are in Rome, and they're controlling me on how I can access my file.
This is the Vatican. The Vatican controls what goes on. But if we weren't here, they wouldn't be dealing with this. This is what we do. We'll push the needle further, we'll push it again, we'll push it again.
Can you understand if some victims are feeling like the silence hasn't been lifted?
Of course I can understand the feelings, but still that needs to be also objective in the sense of we follow the established lines of procedure.
I remember there was a canon lawyer who's since become bishop in Brazil, but he was working in the office for the clergy at the time, and that was at the time the office in the Vatican that was dealing with this. And he told me, we had lunch, and he said, "What is this all about? What are these giving over these records to the courts and to the civil authorities? They should destroy those records." And I said, "But that's against the law. I mean, they will go to jail and be fined seriously." And he didn't seem to think that was a problem.
In Peter Lucci's case, the secret files on Leo Campbell revealed that by the time he was appointed principal of St. Michael's College School in 1988, he'd already admitted to sexual contact with boys. When another victim comes forward in 1992, Campbell is sent to Southdown once again. He'd be removed as principal of the Basilian School, only to return in 1998 to teach religion and lead students in spiritual guidance as chaplain. Staff at St. Michael's claim the Basilian Fathers didn't tell the school at the time about Campbell's record. Father Campbell's return would drive Peter Lucci over the edge.
St. Michael's College School under the direction of the Basilian Fathers. So, yeah, I've been back here since that day.
When I found out he was at St. Mike's, I put a 12 gauge in my trunk. I just wanted to end him. I got in my car and I drove to St. Michael's School. I was completely isolated. I was completely alone. I was furious. My mind was in complete flux and complete chaos. And I was scared as to what I was capable of doing at that point. At that minute, I was terrified of myself. I know how close I came. If he would have walked out.
Do you remember what triggered you to drive away after 4 hours of waiting?
Physical exhaustion, psychological exhaustion, everything. I was just, at that point, I had to just deep exhale and leave.
If you had killed Campbell, do you think it would have woken up St. Mike's and the Basilian Fathers?
Unfortunately, no. They don't want to look at it. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to acknowledge it because it's just too difficult for them.
The culture of silence and secrecy still exists today. November 2018, a student-on-student rape is recorded inside a locker room at St. Mike's. The video is seen by the school's Basilian administration on a Monday. Journalists arrive at the school 2 days later as disturbing reports begin to surface. Only then does St. Mike's file a police report.
It confirms they have a systemic issue. They've got something in their culture for the purposes of reducing scandal and maintaining their good name. The church doesn't go to the police.
A Basilian priest comes and interviews you. He then interviews Father Campbell as well and sends his report to the top-ranking Basilian priest.
Yes.
What happens next?
Father Campbell was dead. He was dead.
Human beings are evil. So we commit not only sins, but even crimes. And this is also true for Catholic priests.
I had an appointment to talk to a detective. I was hoping he'd go to jail. I was hoping he'd pay for what he has done because I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only one.
A Basilian priest comes and interviews you. He then interviews Father Campbell and sends his report to a top-ranked Basilian official.
And then 3 days later, I had got a midnight phone call from my therapist stating that Father Campbell was dead. He was dead. So, I mean...
The Basilians have told us that Leo Campbell died of heart failure.
That's just a diversion. Don't ask too many questions. Let's put this to bed. Let's bury it. Absolutely, they're hiding something. I was very conflicted at that time. I felt responsible for his death. And, you know, I was happy in a way, but I was mad at another because like he's not there. To see what he did to me and others, he's not there, he's just gone. I'm here though, and I have to live with what he did. He should have stayed and he should have faced the music.
Father John Mallow, who worked with Campbell at Columbus Boys Camp, delivers the eulogy at his funeral. Campbell is remembered as having a special ability to reach out to the disenfranchised and alienated. St. Michael's College School removed the bursary in his name in 2015 when they learned the Basilians settled with Lucci for $250,000. Like Brenda's, the settlement doesn't include an admission of guilt or an apology.
I didn't care about the money. I wanted them to say sorry. I wanted them to take responsibility. I wanted them to make changes. They made this pedophile go and have access to another child and another child and another child. They did that. He couldn't do it through his own power, but they helped him.
We've had some startling confessions from other Basilian priests, perpetrator priests, that peg their victim number at 2 or 3 per year on an ongoing basis. So when we start running those numbers with Father Leo Campbell, considering how long he was a priest, we start to get a significant number of victims.
Should Catholic orders and the diocese be looking more towards the scriptures instead of what their lawyers are telling them?
Yeah, of course. A different church means a church that will have lost much of its power and influence, but it will have come back to the roots. And this root is Jesus Christ himself. Then people will trust us again.
Standing here like this today, amongst all of these people of faith, knowing that this massive scandal is going on amongst the church, it is like sticking a knife right through my heart in St. Peter's Square. If they could feel what we feel for just 2 minutes, they would be enraged right now here.
As I stand here and I see the gleam of hope in all the tourists and all the visitors of all this awe and wonder, and I walk these streets, and my identity, my moral compass that was instilled in me as a young child has been lost, has been taken from me.
What is your message to the Basilians?
I am not going away. You are not going to take me down. You will not discredit me. You know what you did to me. I absolutely will be back next year. And maybe by next year, just maybe, somebody will be willing to talk to us. And if not, we'll be back the following year. We're not going anywhere.
How can they teach goodness, discipline, and knowledge when the guy's raping children? It's the secrecy, that's what they should put, secrecy and deception.
Everybody has to be outed. Until that happens, they can't say that they've changed.
If you were to say something to a young Peter Lucci, what would you say to him today?
I'd tell him it's going to be okay. You're going to make it. You will make a difference. Just be strong and know that you have value. You are a human being and you have value, and just, you know, be strong. Don't give up hope. You're going to do something that's going to help change things. So
Keep your head up.